for today. So the event is going to be recorded there, so we can share that obviously with a wider audience afterwards there. So first of all, I just want to introduce Lindsay, who is the CEO of the Wallich, and who's just going to talk a little bit about obviously the BOSS project and Wallich as a whole, and how that sort of interacts together. So Lindsay, over to you, please.
Thanks, Dave. I'm absolutely delighted to be opening the event this morning, and to say that I'm overexcited is probably an understatement. 5 years of the BOSS project, how awesome is that? I dread to think how many people have better lives because of the work that this team has achieved. It's quite staggering, really, when you look at the amount of people that have come through these programs and that have really genuinely moved on from homelessness and are having their happily ever after. That's what this team is here for, and I literally couldn't be any prouder. Just to sort of set the scene, at the Wallich we exist to do three things. That's to get people off the streets, keep people off the streets, and then create opportunities so that people don't go back. During the pandemic, we saw like an unprecedented effort to get people off the streets. 900 people who were either rough sleeping or sofa surfing came in to temporary accommodation. The challenge we face now is nobody wants anybody to go back out. We're starting to see a slight trickle through of people going back onto the streets. There's about 100 across the whole of Wales, which is 100 too many in my view, even though we acknowledge that it is progress. We used to see that just in Cardiff and in the pre-pandemic days. But if we think about what BOSS does and the opportunities that creates, it's never been more important. It's never been more pivotal, because at the moment we have about 900 people in, some of whom have never engaged before. And I think the real strength of BOSS is giving people something to move on to. Sometimes once people reach their recovery, or they move on from prison or their problems or all of those sorts of things, it's scary sometimes to think, well, if I haven't got that old lifestyle and all my old mates and all that other stuff that I was into, what's left? And that can be a scary look in the mirror sometimes. And what BOSS does is build confidence, it builds identity, it builds a sense of purpose, and it gives people something to focus on so that it is tangible, what you're moving from and what you're moving to, that's more positive in somebody's lives. Now, 2020 figures are quite alarming for prison leavers. Less than half of prison leavers are released into settled accommodation. What chance do people have if they've done their time, they've paid their price to the community, and then they come out and there's nowhere for people to go? BOSS provides an avenue for people to find somewhere to direct their attention, to direct that willingness to start a new life. And it really does break the cycle of offending. People often think that homelessness and solving homelessness is about houses and that it's about accommodation. And it's not, it's about happiness. It's about happiness and it's about well-being. It's about finding out what you're good at. It's about finding out what your place in the world is. If you've never felt like you've ever fit anywhere, BOSS can help you find where you do fit, and what your skills are and what your contribution to the world can be. And once people start realizing that they've got that sense of purpose, we start seeing people's behavior and their values align. When your behavior and your values are at odds with each other, that's psychologically very uncomfortable. I used to be a marathon runner that smoked 20 fags a day. That's my example. And we find that a lot of the people that we support have just had really hard luck. They've had traumas, they've come on from things that a lot of people wouldn't survive. And if behavior has been at odds with what they really feel and what they really value in the world, programs like BOSS and the opportunities that are there can bring behavior and values back into alignment, and that creates happiness. It creates a sense of purpose, a sense of control. So I can't overstate really the importance of a program like BOSS. The value of lived experience as well is another pivotal part of the program. The people we support know whether you get it or not. And I don't think the power of peer support can be understated either. I can't thank this team enough. You work your socks off day in, day out. And yes, we're celebrating BOSS as a program, but I want to celebrate you. and I want to celebrate the people that have been through it. It's challenging when you put an opportunity in front of anybody. It takes serious courage to take the opportunity. If a door's opened, it takes a lot of strength to walk through it and to make the changes, because it's like moving into the unknown. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to our funders, the Moondance Foundation. Thanks for joining us this morning, Rebecca. I'm grateful to the people that support, the volunteers that we have, the peer supporters, everybody that makes the BOSS project what it is. And my call to action this morning, I'm going to end with a challenge, and that's that we've got to keep creating opportunities. There's currently more people than there are opportunities, and that's a gap that we want to fill. That's the bit that's going to break the cycle of homelessness. The home, the accommodation is just the first bit. What BOSS is about is building a life. Thank you, and I'll hand back to you, Dave.
Thank you, Lindsay. I think you expertly summarised sort of what BOSS and the Wallich is about, really. And as you said, it's there are some challenges still to face, and they're not insurmountable. And with the help of our sort of community, and we have a really strong supportive community, I think we can address those. We can, you said, create those opportunities and create happiness for the service users we're supporting there. And yeah, today I just want to move on to really just looking back and at the project, really, and that support we received, and thanking those who've been with us over the last 5 years. And as you said, it's quite remarkable that it was sort of 5 years ago that we first launched the project, back in sort of I think it was October 2016, at the Pierhead building in Cardiff Bay. This was back in a day when Zoom didn't exist, and large group gatherings and handshakes were commonplace. And I'm sure we'd like to get back to that position all ourselves fairly soon. But it's really important to us that we can celebrate those 5 years with all those people who support us, and look back on the achievements of the project, and most importantly recognise the success of our service users, because there have been many successes over those 5 years. So I think the BOSS project was launched with the aim of helping individuals overcome the barrier of a criminal record to rebuild their lives and gain stability and control, and secure sustainable employment. I think all of which helps contribute to reduce the levels of reoffending, and also build sort of stronger communities. As Lindsay has already mentioned, we're very fortunate to have the backing and secure funding from the National Lottery Community Fund for the initial 3 years, and alongside Moondance Foundation refunded us in 2019 for additional 2 years. Yeah, we're extremely grateful for the continued support and guidance of the National Lottery Community Fund, and also the National Lottery players themselves, who, without buying those tickets, there's going to be no funds to distribute. And I said Moondance as well have sort of stepped in over the last 2 years to add that additional funding support there. Without the sort of the backing and the belief, without the guidance and understanding as well, especially during the last 18 months, during what's been a real difficult period for everyone in the third and criminal justice sector, we really would have not been able to make the impact we've had. I suppose looking back, to some extent, not much has changed since 2016, and a lot of those key aims and objectives remain the same. But as well as that, how we approach them and how we support our service users has evolved over this period. Our project being very much informed by our service users, listening to the experiences, listening to the feedback, involving them with the design and delivery of the project, and in order to sort of improve the journey for them, improve that experience, and hopefully improve the outcomes and success and result in happiness from that. But as part of that, we sort of transitioned from a project which originally solely focused on employment outcomes to one which is more holistic, one which addressed some of the sort of underlying causes, the additional support they need, be it accommodation, substance use, which took in consideration the many sort of interweaving factors and barriers faced by our service users. We saw that person as an individual, and as such, we provided sort of a tailored approach, which hopefully will result in more sustainable outcomes. This led to us, introducing more aspect to the project between the first and second phase, more focused on wellbeing support, adopting a trauma-informed care approach. This included contracting a dedicated counsellor through our Reflections network support those people who've experienced adverse childhood experiences and other forms of trauma. And we also extend our offer as well to women who are involved in the criminal justice sector, building relationships with HMP Eastwood Park and Women's Pathfinder. And as Lindsay touched on there, something we're really proud of is saying we've sort of introduced that sort of paid peer mentor role. I think it was really important to us to say, you know, to lead the way in that aspect and actually employ people with offending backgrounds. And we did that not just because we felt the right thing to do, but because it actually brought value to the project, brought value to our service users. You know, they're really integral part of our project going forward. And I think, you know, that impact is seen wider, both within the Wallich and other sort of organisations there. And yeah, we've just had this more of a desire as well to work in more collaboration with other agencies and partners there. I think it's true to say the progress has not always been linear, and in times of difficulty, and you know, I think we made a few mistakes. We probably learned more from our failures than our successes, and this gives us a chance to reflect and adapt the project and become a more rounded project and a stronger project as a result there. I think we're really proud to say that we've always been there for our service users, never given up on them. I've always strived to be that consistent presence in their lives. So I'm just going to throw out a few statistics. So yeah, during the last 5 years, we've received over 1,500 referrals, which is incredible to think of. 80% of those referrals over the last 2 years have been for women, which has been, again, another proud achievement of ours. 596 qualifications have been achieved. You know, they range from basic introductory qualifications, level 1, level 2, to high level qualifications. 284 hours of counselling have been delivered by our in-house counsellor, Rob. And importantly, 464 individuals have secured employment. Now, the vast majority of people who work with us stated that they feel more stable, they feel more empowered, and they feel more in control of those lives. However good those statistics are, they only really tell a small part of the story, and they don't capture those small moments that we get to share on a daily basis. You know, they don't capture the days when that individual's plucked up the courage to open up to us, the times when they said they felt listened to, when they told us they've reconnected with their family and their children, the sense of pride you see when they achieve a qualification, when they get employment, the noticeable increase in their confidence as they walk into the room, and the sense of hope they display when we discuss the future, and also the sort of the resilience and the courage they show in times of difficulty. So I think those moments, those aspects, those intangibles are just as important really as the hard outcomes. And hopefully when you do hear from a service user shortly, you'll see that within their stories as well. Yeah, and some of those successes, said they, you know, to give an example, they have been varied. They range from people securing work as a labourer with one of our many construction companies who've supported us, finding work with the DWP, set up their own business with, you know, as personal trainers or gardeners, even just living independently for the first time, maybe in a long time or ever, starting a university course and benefiting from lifelong learning, and even things like forming lifelong relationships and friendships with other service users and being seen as role models and inspirations to others. So, you know, success is different for everyone really, and that's just a small sort of snippet of that. Again, it's really important to state that obviously none of this would happen without the support of the numerous agencies, employers, volunteers, and other stakeholders who have helped us through this journey. I'd like to say a massive thank you to the willingness of HMP Cardiff, HMP Swansea, HMP Cardiff Park, HMP Prescott and Usk, and HMP Eastwood Park, who've really welcomed us into the establishments and given us the time to engage with the men and women there so we can build up the relationships and provide that immediate support upon release. In addition, I'm really thankful for the referrals we've received from probation and the opportunity to work in collaboration with a dedicated and understanding staff there to ensure that service users get the best possible support so they stand the best chance of turning their lives around. Special mention goes to our dedicated volunteers, Roger Lever, our in-house business expert, who has guided many individuals through the maze of setting up their own business. The amazing Andrea and Rebecca, who have listened to our service users for many hours, helped remove some of that fog and provide clarity thinking and and built up that inner resilience. And also an important aspect of the project is changing the perception of people with offending backgrounds and breaking that stigma of criminal records. Key to this has been working with employers. We were very fortunate from day one that we received the support from organisations and individuals like John James at ISG Construction and Mark Jones at Acorn Recruitment, who took a massive risk, I think, on us as a project, and individuals like Matt Keelan and Leon, not only offering them employment, but making them feel valued, and also giving them a genuine opportunity to sort of move forward. We now work with many employers across many sectors, people like the Compass Group, Castle Howell, Ski Solutions, Edenstone, many more, which I probably just can't think off the top of my head to mention, but we're really thankful all those employers who really put their head above the parapet and look beyond the label of an ex-offender, and we're really truly thankful for that. I think the impact, which will be seen way beyond the project, and has helped change that public opinion of employing this group of individuals. I'd also like to thank everyone at the Wallich and all the members of staff who've been with us, all the public sector organisations like the Welsh Government, DWP, Careers Wales, name a few, and also the numerous third sector organisations who sort of stood side by side with us over the last 5 years, and again have worked in partnership with us to help achieve our outcomes. And lastly, but definitely not least, I'd like to say thank you to the service users. Obviously, without them, none of this would have been possible. You know, I'd like to think we've opened the doors, but they've put in the hard work to get there, to get that success. You know, they've inspired us, and they've really given our work such meaning and such enrichment. So I'm sure that's probably enough from myself. Be keen to hear from others, and people have probably got much more interesting stories to share there. So to start with, I just want to introduce Harriet Wade, who's the Social Value Manager for ISG Construction. As mentioned, ISG were one of the first employers to put their hand up and said, yeah, we're willing to sort of give opportunities to people with offending backgrounds. And they've been very supportive the last 5 years and given numerous opportunities to a number of our service users. So yeah, if Harriet is here, I could just like to hand over to her, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can, Harriet, yes. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for being part of this today.
Thank you, Dave. A massive thank you and hello to you all. I think the first thing I want to start with is a quote. I think it's really important to hear from the end users that have obviously worked with ISG. So this is a quote from one of the operatives on one of our sites, who's obviously a client of the Wallich. ISG has opened many doors for me and it has given me a push in the right direction. It's a real game changer to be given an opportunity to work on site, not to be judged for previous mistakes in my life, and to be given help you need to properly get better and yourself in the aspect of life. I think this quote says it all. It says everything it needs to say in terms of how the Wallich has helped develop this person, how ISG has supported them from that beginning. And John James is the pivotal point at ISG for this. So John first introduced me to Dave at the Wallich, going back nearly 5 years now, and said, this is a great program. I'm really interested for you to sort of take it on and see what you can do with it. And for me, of course, I said yes and grabbed it with both hands and started rolling. I think it was really important for me to understand, what did the Wallich do? What did we get out of it? And what was so important? And I think through the past 5 years, just seeing the people come through the doors that have been with us, maybe they've been with us for a really short time, maybe they've been with us for years, but giving them that experience to come onto site and get that knowledge has been incredible, giving them the support that they need, and the Wallich giving ISG the support that they need to be able to deliver this. I think, obviously, as Dave mentioned at the beginning, being an employee, it can be quite worrying, taking that first step into supporting, people into employment. And actually, they took the first step with us and guided us through this whole process and have been there for us at every stage. So even though you're saying you just support these people, you support every single business that's on this call today. And I think I just need to say a massive thank you to everybody that's obviously supported ISG in this process to be able to get us to this point. And a massive thank you goes to Dave and to obviously Acorn Recruitment, who are our partners in helping get people on site and giving them opportunities. And I think over the past sort of 5 years, we've developed longer lasting relationships, had relationships with, training providers then to be able to offer people opportunities. And for ISG, that's so incredible to be able to showcase the work that we've been able to deliver. And now we're aiming on every project that we can offer these opportunities across the board. And as Dave is going to be aware, we're starting to make these conversations with, HMP Park, HMP Cardiff, USC, Prescoid, around how we can get these people into work with us, whether that be a full-time employment, whether that just be some work experience, whether my staff and the team here at ISG can come in and support the Wallich to deliver some mock interviews, some CV sessions, anything that we can do to support you guys, we've tried to do in those last 5 years. So I just wanted to say, I'm going to keep it short and sweet today. I just wanted to say a massive thank you to the Wallich and to everybody that's obviously supported ISG and to support these individuals in their growth and development in this process. And ISG hopes that obviously we can continue to grow this relationship and hopefully see the 10 years sign in the next 5 years. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you for everything that you've done for us and obviously for the end users at the Wallich.
Thank you, Harriet. Sorry for the delay. I was just trying to unmute myself. Yeah, but yeah, really thank you for those kind words, and yeah, your continued support from yourself, John, and all the members of staff at ISG. I said that you have led the way that alongside organisations like Acorn Recruitment, and yeah, and your willingness to get involved with everything. And I know you said it's pretty much embedded within a lot of the prisons across South Wales, including obviously the Young Offenders Institute at HMP Park. So looking to help those right at the the start of it there. So yeah, again, thank you for speaking today, Harry. We appreciate that. So the next individual I'd like to sort of introduce is quite an inspirational woman, a former service user of the BOSS project. We were very fortunate to work with New Futures Network and their Going Forward to Employment scheme, which is a scheme which aims to employ a number of individuals from offending backgrounds within the civil service. This lady, Kelly Moore, she went through a sort of a stringent interview process and managed to secure employment with HMPPS. And she's a bit of a rising star at the moment with HMPPS and has come on really leaps and bounds and is involved with a lot of the work that you do there and informing some of the policies around sort of lived user experiences there. So I'll let Kelly say a bit more about this. But yeah, so Kelly, if you could come in at this point, please.
Hi everyone, good morning. I just want to say what an honour and a privilege it is to be speaking at this event today. BOSS has a special place in my heart and it always will. But I will start with my journey and how I got into the job in the first place. So I think 12 weeks before my sentence ended, Lizzie had come into Eastwood Park. We had an initial chat. I was telling her how worried I was about finding employment and that I was older. I didn't think I was young enough to be bothering to study and things like that. And she was like, there's things we can do when you come out. We'll sort you out with the job. You've just got to engage with us when you come out and we're there for you. And at first you take it with a pinch of salt when you're in prison and you've still got 3 months left. You think, well, everyone says words. But no, when I came out of prison, the first people that contacted me actually was Gemma, my mentor. I think that was within the first week. I came out into a lockdown. It was COVID. It was confusing. It was a world I didn't know. It wasn't the world I left when I went into prison. So it was very disorientating. But Gemma was there. She guided me through, which they then introduced me to the WISE course, which I was lucky enough to study there. I met some inspirational people. There was all different types of experiences of lived experience. There was homelessness. There was people that had been, drug users for a number of years and wanted to change their lives. There was a vast variety of people. So as the process went through with WISE, I was then offered some training qualifications. So I started off with an ILM, Leadership and Management, Team Skills, level 3, I think. I also did a Housing and Community Studies, which was a university qualification. I was then put forward to have an interview with HMPPS through Chris Jennings. The job originally was a communications officer post. We didn't have a job description for this post well, I think I only got the job description after I actually got the job, but we knew it was a great opportunity, and we knew that it was going to be a breakthrough. I'd be the first person to go in with lived experience into this certain section of the civil service. So when I joined the civil service, it was very confusing. It was disorientating again, because it was a world I would never have got to step into, even probably before prison. But with bosses holding my hand, teaching me through that, they gave me mock interviews before I went in on a corporate level. They were fair with those interviews. They really guided me through it and made it so easy for me to be able to go and join the civil service. But since joining the civil service, my role has evolved. They've really taken in with both hands the lived experience aspect into everything that they're doing, and they really do appreciate and want the insight into everything that they're about to put in communications, within project work, within community work. So I'm now working on the Grand Avenues project, which is helping to reform probation in a collaborative way, incorporating companies like BOSS or the Wallich, where it would actually be, a proper referral process, rather than, I feel lucky that I fell into BOSS, but I think that it should be made, a proper referral process where everyone has access to this great service. I think that the collaborated approach between BOSS and the Wallich is amazing, and the relationship that they build with third sectors and the opportunities that they provide to people like me. I did not know where I would be today if it wasn't for BOSS, and it wasn't for them nurturing me when I came out. They were there when I needed them, and I wouldn't be where I was today. And I think that projects like this they're so crucial to people with lived experience, and at a time when most companies are realizing that it's a loss of skill to most sectors just because somebody's made a mistake in the past. BOSS are there to fill that gap and to actually show companies that no, these people are still assets, and they can be assets. So they push you all that way, they empower you, and they give you that courage to make you feel you're good enough to go for these kind of jobs. So again, I'm very proud to be here today. It's a crucial service that you guys provide. I will always be grateful, as I'm sure that everybody else on this call today would be. So thank you, BOSS. Thank you, Wallich, for everything.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, thank you for those really kind words, and yeah, we're really proud of everything you have achieved. And as you said, to see your inspiration, I think is is sort of a saying it sort of in small terms there. Really, I think we've given you the opportunity, and you just run with it, and taking her on completely there, and yeah, with a little bit of support, just shows what can be achieved and what is possible. So hopefully, other service users will listen to this and be inspired to follow suit there. So thank you for that. So thank you. Yeah, next, as you mentioned at the start there, very proud of the opportunity we give to employ people with lived experience. And next, we want to introduce our peer mentors then, who've now been with us close to 2 years. So Lizzie Harris, who's been their line manager for those last 2 years, is going to introduce them and just ask them a few questions about the experience and what they gained from that employment, and really the plans for the future, really going forward there. So I'll hand over please to Lizzie.
Thanks, Dave. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
No, I'm just in a meeting, sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah, so thanks, Dave, and thanks everyone for speaking. Yeah, special thanks to Kelly, because I don't know how I'm going to follow from that, because your story gets me every time, and you should be really proud. But just to touch a little bit on the peer mentors of BOSS. So my role as the BOSS project coordinator is to line manage the 3 peer mentors we have. So back in 2019, when we got the extension of funding, we kind of recognised that as an employability project, we're asking people to provide opportunities for those with lived experience and with a criminal record, but we weren't offering these positions ourselves. and we could really notice the difference that having those on our team with lived experience could have. So we created 4 part-time paid peer mentor roles for those who've experienced the criminal justice system. So they bring a unique perspective, understanding, and a different level of empathy to engage and motivate our clients. So I know I can safely say on behalf of BOSS and the Wallich that the BOSS peer mentors have been fantastic and made a massive difference to the project, and we've really not looked back ever since. I know I can say safely that it's really hard to imagine BOSS now without peer mentors and what it was ever like before. It's made a big impact on them personally. I know, you know, Kelly herself is now a paid full-time member of the team, so she's progressed on to being a mentor, and both Sarah and Gemma have done various qualifications, and Gemma took part in a LEX movement, and Sarah's done a lot on different shadow boards. So personally in their careers, they are progressing. These roles are stepping stone roles, but they've taken them and kind of run with them really. But also the impact that they've had on the clients, the way they support them, and the wider community and this sector. So I know more and more employers are coming to us, different third sector charities, and even HMPPS, as you can see, Kelly has got a job and are now being able to actively promote these positions that people with lived experience can offer. So I just want to say, I think it's a massive credit to how well these peers have done. You've made a massive difference to BOSS. You've overcome so many barriers, and your stories are all really inspirational. So I feel like having this opportunity to do my role has made me feel really lucky. I've got one of the best jobs out there, and it's been an absolute pleasure to support all of you. So we'll have a bit of an opportunity now to hear about kind of your journeys, what's got you to BOSS, and it will stop me waffling on all day because you don't want to hear from me. So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions. So if we start with Sarah, if that's all right with you. So firstly, kind of how did you first get involved in the BOSS project?
Okay, I got involved through the job centre. So I was in prison for 16 months, and I spent a lot of my time working on my recovery from being an addict. I did a lot of peer support stuff in prison, and I was really supported by the staff in Eastwood Park in a lot of different areas. And I kind of felt like when I left prison that I would walk into a job like this. It was just because of the support that I had in there. I didn't realise that being outside would be a whole different thing. And when I come out, it kind of was. I just had to go. I was sent to the job centre to sign on, and I did kind of job search. And when I went to them, they said to me, "What was the last employment that you had?" Which was for me really bad when I was like about 16 or 18. And I was in retail, and they were like, "Right, then we look for retail jobs." And I was thinking that's not really what I wanted to do. I was kind of forced into that kind of having to like commit to the hours of job searching. So I kind of felt a bit disheartened with that. And then upon like applying for stuff with a criminal record, I don't know whether it was the criminal record, but for me, in my own feeling, I felt like that was my barrier. That was why I wasn't getting any responses back from CVs and stuff like that. And I kind of felt like it wasn't like one step forward and 2 steps back, because I'd done so well in prison. It was like 1 step forward and 10 back. I just felt awful, and I would go to the job centre and I would be in tears. I just felt like there's no one left to help me. I was kind of on my own and starting afresh, and I felt like I was like 16 again, looking for my first job. So the job centre coach put me in touch with the Wallich, and to be honest, by that point, I did feel like I didn't want to bother. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to speak to somebody else about all this stuff that's going on for me. So I did, like when I got my appointment, they cancelled my first appointment because I was like, I don't want to go. But they did ring back and try and rearrange an appointment. And I thought, right, well, I got to do this. So I went and met my mentor for the Wallich, and she was brilliant, totally opened my eyes, changed my whole viewpoint on what I had to offer. Because like going through the job centre, I did feel like I had nothing left to offer. I had to start again. When I got in touch with the Wallich, I really felt like everything that I had put myself through the last 10 years, all the negative things were spun around to be positive, and that kind of gave me the drive then to keep going. So I done some volunteering, done a peer mentor course. I didn't have like loads of involvement, but I kept my involvement going. I done some volunteering with the NHS as well, and it was just a case of waiting for the right job, and I was going to do that. I was going to wait for the job that I wanted this time. I wasn't going to just pick up on anything. So the peer mentor role came up and I went for it, and that's kind of where I am now. Yeah.
Amazing, thanks, Sarah. So if we go to Kelly, if that's all right. So how did you first get involved with the BOSS project?
So I actually came out of prison, and before I went into prison, I was in recovery with substance misuse issues since I was a kid. 2 seconds, please.
I'll just put myself on mute because there seems to be a little bit of feedback.
Sorry guys, I had headphones in.
Oh, sorry, Kelly, you're just on mute.
I'm just going to go in the next room because there's 2 of us.
That's right. Gemma, do you want to kick off of how you got involved with BOSS then while we wait for Kelly to change rooms?
Yeah. My story started off, I was in custody. I did a long time in custody. I was also on substance misuse when I went into custody. I did 2 years in custody. I then came out of custody, and then my probation officer introduced me to the BOSS project. When I came out, like same as Sarah, everything was just, I had ideas to do everything. I thought I could do it on my own. But when I came out of custody, it was just like so overwhelming that I just didn't know where to start first. Then I met Liz, who became my mentor and helped me she helped me with my counselling, she helped me with resilience. I engaged with WISE Project. I also engaged with other courses that kept me busy, which helped me as well with my family because I have 4 children as well. And then I ended up then after doing voluntary work and doing the work and all the experience I learned from BOSS, I ended up becoming a mentor then and helping others. And I've been here now 2 years, and I wouldn't change my job for, like, I keep my job as much as I could. I would love to go full time, but at the moment I've got 4 children and I'm a single mum, but I have up my hours to 24 hours, which I was only working 16. I am doing other qualifications in between, which this year I've deferred for a year because I took on more hours with the BOSS project to help others. But not only have it helped me overcome my barriers, overcome barriers for my children with the tools I've learned with the BOSS project, with the courses I did for them. It helped me, like, you know, help my boy who's 19. I've been able to get him out of the situation that I was in before I went to prison. It just not only, like I said, helping myself, but it is rewarding when you can make that one bit of difference to one person. Because when I went into custody, I didn't ask for help, and I was always feared off with asking for help and embarrassed. And unfortunately, I ended up in custody with a substance misuse problem, and I had to go to a dark place. And then when I came out, I still felt in a dark place until I was a member with the BOSS project. And yeah, and this is where I am today. And I really inspire because I know how much little support I can offer others with my own lived experience as well, and make a difference to somebody's life. And it's really rewarding. Even if it was one person every couple of months, it's still making that big difference in the community to others. And the support that the BOSS do offer is support that people do need, and not many people are aware that the support that you do offer is really good for people's well-being, even down to being back in the community, because you're introduced to so many different people as well. It gives you a non-judgmental, I suppose, because before I used to judge people, but now I can see the difference why people do lead to things what they do. And like I say, with just that little bit of support, it does make a big difference to somebody's life, in just directing them in the right places and meeting people who've been there before. And it just makes you feel you're not the only one, you're not alone, and you're able to, like, you know, be welcomed back in the community. And that's how I feel BOSS made me welcomed in the community. And it helped me massive, yeah.
Thank you. I don't know if we could pass over to you now, Kelly, if we can hear you a bit better, but just, I know we've got to stay on track, so kind of a little bit about how you got involved in BOSS and then what being a peer mentor meant to you.
Okay, can you hear me? now?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, so I was actually on another course with the Wallich. I'd come in, I was homeless, and I'd been picked up by one of the projects in Swansea, Cross Borders. And while I was there, you know, I was still in active addiction when I first started this course. Sorry, no, just come away from it, like a week or so, something like that. And while I was on the course, you know, I got talking to Ellie and Jen, who runs Behind the Label. And, you know, I spoke about my story, about being in recovery and then relapsing and actually going to prison. And actually coming out with a job. We worked with like me settlement, come out with a job. But I actually went back into the same sort of environment that I'd come from before I went into prison, and around the same people. And, you know, sometimes it's difficult when you go back to that. You know, I'd done really well while I was in prison, and it had given me a chance to get away from that and really think about what I wanted. And done well and come out with a job. Unfortunately, my relationship with the person that I was living with when I came out, because I had nowhere else to go, you know, wasn't great. And I became homeless again due to that. And I lost my job because I couldn't keep up with the two, you know, and I couldn't get a place in a hostel while I was working. So, you know, it all went south. I was in a project in Cross Borders, and I was starting to engage, and you know, I managed to do WISE, and I went on to do Behind the Label, because, you know, getting out my own area at that time to go and do something positive was like a huge step. And I spoke to Ellie, and she told me that she was, you know, starting Boss, that it was going to be, you know, focused on offenders, and would I like to help out doing that, because, you know, I wanted to do something but outside my area, and it was in Cardiff at the time, and I really wanted to get back into employment. And within 6 months I was in temporary accommodation outside the project, and I was still going, and you know, I met Dave, and Marcus was my mentor, and they got me onto work experience, because in the past I'd done, you know, customer service office jobs, and like the anxiety of just in general, my anxiety coming out of you know, substance abuse and using was really, really like at its height, and my mental health was not great. My confidence was so low. I'd been through, like, you know, some really bad violent relationships in the past as well, and you know, they were there for all of it. Like Dave actually came to the work experience with me. I met the employers, and I did a work experience for a week with them, and it was with a construction company, and I actually got asked to go back for another couple of weeks. So I actually did 3 weeks there, and they offered me a job at the end of it, which was like, you know, it was awesome, and I felt like I had to take this. But due to being in temporary accommodation, if I'd taken that job, my rent would have been quite high, and it would have put me back in the position, maybe, you know, I could have become homeless again. So I didn't take the job. But Marcus and Dave, they were really, you know, understanding. Marcus, you know, sat down, and, you know, I was literally asking him, I was saying to him, like, should I take it? Should I take it? And I knew, you know, I put myself in the worst position. And it was just like, you know, Marcus was honest with me and said, look, you know, if you do this, and it just, the honesty, just, do you know what I mean? It was nothing. Before now, it's like, yes, take the job, you've got to do this job, you know. It was more I could see that it was more centered about what was right for me, and I didn't take the job, but I carried on volunteering with Boss for the next couple of years, and they were talking about peer jobs coming up, and I was like, yes, I want to do that. But do you know what I mean? At the beginning, I didn't think it was going to happen, and like now here we are, like 2 years later, and it's been a game changer. It's just the confidence that it's built, you know, I've been able to talk about the past trauma, and, you know, the trauma that I've faced, and I've been given the tools to tackle that now, and it's taught me to reach out if I'm going through something, and not to isolate myself, which is what I would have done, you know, before now. I'm off benefits now. I'm in full-time work. The relationships with my family and, you know, everybody in Boss, like, you know, they really are friends. I've made some amazing mates. Yeah, everything's better. There's just, you know, I could go on and on and on. And it just meant to me that all that hard work, you know, and the trust that it built, all the hard work was worth it. That, you know, it pushed me in a way, and they encouraged me, because, you know, we all have got something to give. We have, you know, we can be assets. We are good at our job. And it just basically shows that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And I think, you know, there's so much potential in people, and just because they've got convictions, it doesn't mean, you know, they won't be good at the job. So yeah, it's meant a lot.
Thank you, Kelly. You couldn't have put it better, really. And I just want to say thank you, all three of you, really, for speaking, but also for just kept going. You've proved everyone wrong, and we're so proud. And I know I can say on behalf of Boss and the Wallich, we're really lucky to have had you, and I'm definitely really proud of everything you've achieved. I'm sure everyone on the call could probably listen to you talk all day, because you're all so inspiring, but just to stay on track, we'll probably have to pass back to Dave now. But yeah, just thank you so much.
Thank you, Lizzie, and particularly thanks to Sarah, Kelly, and Gemma, and just mirroring Lizzie's words. I think we could listen to them, you know, for another hour or more, and they just inspiring the stories and the strength they've shown, and the progress they made, and you know, as I said, they label peer mentors, but they're much more than that, and they really are professionals in their role, and really are make a huge impact. Not just in service users, but on the other staff in the project and other staff within the Wallich. And I'm so proud of everything they've achieved over the last 2 years, and I'm just excited to see what else they can do going forward. You know, and the other peers we can bring on board there. So yeah, I think if you're not convinced by the benefits that people lived experience can bring, and people with offending backgrounds can bring from those stories, and I don't think anything will there. So just moving on, so we want to try to keep it on track as much as possible there. We do have a short sort of 5-minute video which has been put together again, which just hopefully gives us sort of a summary of what's taken place over the last 5 years, gives a few quotes and videos from some of our current service users as well. So I'll just play that now.
Can I just check that everyone can see the screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, I can see.
For the last 5 years, the Wallich's Boss project has been empowering individuals with an offending background. The aim being to help individuals release their potential, lead fulfilling lives, and move forward into employment. Our dedicated team of experts are there for the entire journey, going into prisons to build relationships with people during their sentence, right through to a congratulations handshake when they accept a job offer. Thanks to strong relationships with employers across South Wales, probation, HMPPS and more, the Boss team have supported more than 1,695 people to lead a more positive life.
My name is Jalal Abouras, and the Boss Foundation, after coming out of prison, has helped me regain some confidence, give me some focus and direction in my life as how to proceed for a better future for myself, my family. They have shown me the light at the end of the tunnel when I could see none. Thank you very much.
probation worker referred me through. Employment, they've helped me gain confidence, my self-esteem, helped me with housing issues. They're amazing.
Has been a big part of my life from the second I became aware of it. The second I met Ellie, Marcus and Stefan, they'd been supportive through every issue that has come up. The unrelenting support when things have gone horribly wrong. Another thing that really made a difference to me and my life, my self-confidence and with my progress with things is introducing me into a work environment, putting me on a site with ISG. The self-confidence I gained from that, it gave me hope, and there was somewhere for me to go with things. It gave me a look at perhaps there's a future there for quite a lot of years there wasn't one. It got me to a point where I thought, well, perhaps I'll be able to work for the Wallich. I could see opportunities. So then I was offered a job with ISG on site, great money, loads of hours. Over time, the Wallich has become more like a family to me than just somebody that sort of supports me, because no matter what has happened, they've been there constantly throughout. So the Wallich become really important to me. I got an opportunity with a little part-time job. Say little, it's no little thing. It's a permanent contract, and it's just with a company that I think the world of anyway. And more of my employers, the Wallich and boss, they've been there throughout. It's been a long journey for them as well, not just for me. They've been through hell and high water with me, and it's been a massive success as far as I'm concerned. I can't say enough about the change, and they say change is a process. It's definitely been that, but it's been great. I wouldn't change a thing. They probably would.
Here's to the next 5 years of Boss.
Great. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it. I know I did. It's sort of quite emotional looking back on that, really. And it was great to finish with Matt and that infectious laugh of his. What I would say to Matt is, don't ever change, and we would never change anything about you either there. So, but yeah, it's been great to sort of celebrate the success of the project. But I just want obviously individuals to know that this isn't a swan song for Boss Project. If anything, it's just the start, really. And as you said, we want to be here for at least another 5 years there. And we've got some big plans for Boss going forward. We want to make sure that all the partners and supporters are involved and continue to work alongside us and continue to feed back to us and continue to challenge us as well going forward. So we have got some ideas of the Boss project, what's going to look like and what the shape's going to be going forward. During the last 12 months, we've had the project independently evaluated. We've consulted with service users, stakeholders. We've run focus groups, and that's helped sort of informed and design a new approach, which takes in considerations the different pathways really individuals can take, whilst also ensure that there's sort of that flexibility there. Can I ask Abby to put up the slides if that's possible, please. So hopefully you can all see this. Yeah, but this is, we just want to also mention the sort of where we see Boss going forward, and really this takes into consideration the feedback we've had. It also takes into consideration the current sort of landscape of the criminal justice sector, and so the opportunities presented by the reunification of probation and the probation dynamic framework. So as you can see, hopefully from the first slide there, we're going to hopefully create sort of 3 distinct pathways. Boss Employ, which is going to focus on those who are looking and ready for employment or have sort of sort of low or short-term needs, and with addition of in-work support. Boss Women, so a sort of standalone strand, which is going to be just for women, and it's acknowledging the sort of the individual sort of circumstances and challenges they face with their own dedicated and employment wellbeing programs, and with additional and increasing collaborative partnership working. And Boss Empower, which is going to focus on well-being and those who maybe need more long-term support or high risk or complex needs, without the important access to counselling to address some of that trauma they have experienced. So what will this look like? So this is a simplistic form of the sort of pathway they can sort of follow, showing, also illustrating that this sort of the different support they can access, both through the Boss project and through the Wallich itself there. So running through that is the pillar support, as we call them, the peer-led engagement, which obviously Kelly, Sarah and Gemma sort of displayed how important that is. The coaching and mentoring provided by the whole team, and the sort of trauma-informed care. You can see hopefully where we got those different coloured blocks there, that they can travel along that pathway, and they can access therapeutic wellbeing support or qualifications, accommodation support, pre-release support, depending on what they need and what's the best sort of pathway for them. The idea as well is that they can move back and forth along this pathway, or if need be, go from Boss Employ to Boss Empower. Similar to women, they can actually obviously access the different strands as well there. And hopefully what that will lead to is that linear progression, which will take them to the sort of the end point and those outcomes as shown by the next slide there, so slide 3. Again, we will introduce things like work placement. There will be more sort of re-energizing of working with employers. There will be opportunities to work with other agencies as well, and specialists in areas like substance use, accommodation. And we want to make sure that people do access the progression opportunities, be it employment, be it education. And what's really important to us is that we don't step away as well once they get there. That we stay supporting them, be it post progression or in work support, and that they know they can always turn to us as well at any point, be it 3, 4, 6, 12 months down the line, when they need to reach out, that they can still feel like they can open up to us and have that level of support there. And hopefully what that'll lead to is those outcomes: stability, control, empowerment, improved relationships, resilience, employment, improvement of well-being, reduction in reoffending. So some of those key results, those key KPIs which we want us to be able to sort of measure and display there. And we really want to involve everyone along this as well, and work in partnership, with existing partners, and build new partnerships going forward as well, and have sort of a long-term approach, to the Boss project and to the support for our service users there. So as I said, I think just sort of rounding that up, thank you for everyone being here today. Thank you for everyone who talked there. Hopefully some of the stories we shared has inspired people to be involved, to continue to be involved. And so the call to arms really is just, reach out to us, speak to us, engage with us, and just make that difference to people. And as Lindsay said at the start, create those opportunities and ultimately create the happiness for those people who really are deserving of it there. So thank you very much for listening today in your time. And yeah, hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and I'll speak to you soon, hopefully. Take care.
Thank you.